Welcome to Little Big Book by Chancel Landry, honoring Native American heritage. The Karankawa people, a mysterious and often overlooked group that have lived along the Gulf Coast of Texas for thousands of years, long before Europeans arrived on these shores. They were not just any people. They were a community that thrived in harmony with the land, from Galveston to Corpus Christi, and even further inland. Despite what has been written about them, these were not savages or cannibals, as some have falsely claimed. They were normal people, living rich, fulfilling lives, shaped by the rhythms of the seasons and the bounty of their homeland. When Cabeza de Vaca and La Salle stumbled upon the Karankawas in the 1500s and 1680s, respectively, it wasn't because they were seeking them out. Both explorers had been blown off course by storms and were struggling to survive. While their writings provide valuable historic context, they are not infallible records of the Karankawa way of life. Regarding the Karankawa's interactions with the stranded Spanish explorers is well documented, and that these explorers were in a dire state when they first encountered the Karankawa. Their ship, battered and broken by the relentless Gulf, was beyond repair. These men, including Cabeza de Vaca, a treasurer, not a captain, huddled together in the cold. With him were three others: Alonso del Castillo Maldonado, Andreas Dorantes, and Estevanico Dorantes, an enslaved black man from Morocco, often called the first African in Texas. With no shelter and no food, they attempted to fix their broken vessel, but their efforts were in vain. Night fell, and with it came the biting cold. The men built a small fire, huddling close to its meager warmth, their spirits sinking as they realized the dire nature of their predicament. As the cold night enveloped them, the Karankawa natives approached. These people, native to the Gulf Coast, watched the suffering men with a mix of curiosity and compassion. They saw the Spaniards weak, starving, and on the brink of death. The Karankawas understood the gravity of the situation. They tried to communicate their gestures, showing their intent to help. But the Spaniards, steeped in the prejudice of their time, feared the worst. They believed the natives would harm them, perhaps even eat them. But the Karankawas did not wish to harm them. They cried for the Spaniards, tears of empathy and sorrow, knowing these men would perish without their intervention. The native people recognized the humanity in their suffering, and their tears were a testament to the deep compassion they felt. After agreeing to go with them, one by one, the Karankawa gently lifted the weakened men, carrying them from fire to fire. The warmth of each fire kept them alive as they moved from one to the next, inching closer to safety. This journey, though only 2 miles, felt like an eternity for the Spaniards. Finally, they reached a large wickiup, a domed-shaped shelter that the Karankawa had prepared. Inside, several fires burned, filling the space with warmth and light. This wickiup, likely used as a smokehouse, was now a sanctuary for the weary survivors. The Karankawa had made a significant sacrifice by offering this space, which likely held their precious supplies and food. The Spaniards survived that night, not by their own strength, but through the mercy and kindness of the Karankawa. The journey was one of survival, but also one of humanity, where the barriers of fear and prejudice were broken down by the simple act of compassion. The Karankawa likely faced significant burdens in supporting these foreign men, providing food for extra mouths, especially those unfamiliar with foraging or hunting in the local environment, would have strained their resources. The explorers, weakened by their journey and unfamiliar with the land, would have relied heavily on the Karankawa sustenance. The Karankawa likely provided shelter and clothing for the explorers, who were naked and ill-prepared for the coastal environment. The survivors of the Narvaez expedition, led by Cabeza de Vaca, received crucial aid from the Karankawa people. However, these immigrants later took advantage of the Karankawa's generosity, stealing food resources from them when their own supplies ran out. This betrayal strained the relationship between the Karankawa and the Europeans, leading to tensions that were exacerbated as more immigrants arrived and began encroaching on the land and resources that the Karankawa relied upon for their survival. These actions contributed to negative portrayals of the Karankawa in European accounts, which often ignored the initial kindness and hospitality they extended. Despite their shaky arrival, these encounters provided a glimpse into the Karankawa extensive trade network. These findings highlight that the Karankawa were far from isolated or mysterious. Archaeologists have uncovered artifacts like chert and pottery from distant regions at Karankawa sites, indicating that the Karankawa were actively trading with other tribes. This trade involved exchanging local goods, such as fish and shells, for items like pottery and stone tools. In the springtime, when the bluebonnets and Indian paintbrushes bloomed across the Texas landscape, the Karankawa celebrated the renewal of life. They would enjoy the springtime much as we do today. It was a busy time when the Karankawa people, masters of their environment, expertly used fire to fell trees. The Karankawa Indians, like many indigenous people, used fire as a vital tool for survival, utilizing it for cooking, warmth, protection, and signaling. To create fire, they often employed a traditional method known as the fire drill. This method involved using two sticks, one as the spindle and the other as the fireboard. The spindle, typically a straight, dry stick, was placed upright on the fireboard, a flat, curved piece of wood with a small indentation on one end, with the indentation sitting on the ground. By rapidly rotating the spindle between their hands and pressing it into the fireboard, the friction generated would create heat, eventually producing a small ember. Once the ember was formed, it was carefully transferred to a nest of dry tinder, such as grass, leaves, or bark. Blowing gently on the ember would ignite the tinder, creating a flame. The Karankawa took great care of their fire-making tools, often wrapping them in deerskin or storing them in a deerskin pocket. This careful preservation ensured their tools were always ready for use, highlighting the importance of fire in their daily life. Just as fire was essential for warmth, cooking, and communication, the Karankawa's craftsmanship extended to the waterways, where they skillfully carved canoes from tree trunks. When they needed to make a new canoe, they chose late winter or early spring. During this time, the trees were resting, and the sap was low, making the wood easier to work with and stronger. The cooler weather also made the hard work of cutting and shaping the trees more comfortable. By timing it just right, they ensured their canoes were strong and ready for the warmer seasons when they would need them the most. This communal effort served many purposes, from collecting wood for their homes and tools to crafting the canoes that were vital for their survival. They would begin every task, whether hunting, fishing, or gathering, with a prayer of thanks, honoring the trees, all living things, and Creator's gifts that sustained them. This reverence reflected their deep respect for all living things and their belief in the interconnectedness of life. These canoes fashioned from sturdy logs were their lifeline, allowing them to fish, transport goods, and navigate the intricate networks of bays and waterways that defined their territory. The tools that they used to construct the canoes were hatchets, adze, and axes. The handles of these tools were made from the resilient woods of the land, while their blades, honed through meticulously flint knapping, were secured with sinew or tree resin. This process ensured that every tool was as strong as the hands that wielded it. The Karankawa's ingenuity in crafting tools was crucial for their daily survival, from the construction of canoes to the hunting gear that supported their diverse diet. These tools played a central role in their lives. But their craftsmanship didn't end with tools. Pottery was another vital element of their daily life. Women skillfully shaped clay into functional and artistic pots using a coiling technique, resulting in round-bottomed vessels unique to their culture. The gray color of their pottery came from local soil, and asphaltum was used to seal and strengthen the outside of the pots. The Karankawa Indians skillfully crafted baskets from local materials like palmetto leaves, river cane, and from bulrush and cattail reeds. Masters of their coastal environment crafted utensils from both local materials and through trade. They made wooden spoons from hard woods and used shells from conchs and mullocks to create functional tools. Buffalo horns acquired through trade were fashioned into durable spoons and bowls. The Karankawa's blend of local resources and trade materials highlights their ingenuity and deep connection to their surroundings. These pots were used to cook and store a wide variety of foods. The Karankawa's diet was rich and varied, including seafood, birds, and land animals. Fishing was at the heart of the Karankawa diet, and the waters provided a bounty that sustained them throughout the year. The Karankawa also skillfully constructed fish weirs, barriers made from interwoven reeds placed strategically in tidal waters to funnel fish into traps, ensuring a reliable catch even in the shifting currents of the Gulf Coast. Their nets, woven from plant fibers like hemp and yucca, captured a diverse array of fish, from big-mouth bass, flounder, to red drum, black drum, sheephead, spotted trout, catfish, and many others. No species was left unexplored. The Karankawa were also skilled in harvesting shellfish, such as oysters, clams, mussels, scallops, blue crabs, and shrimp. The Karankawa Indians dined on the green sea turtle, among many other species listed in their diverse diet. In addition to turtles, they hunted alligators and snakes, cleverly using snake rattles as decorative ornaments at the end of their braids. As they moved, the rattling sound would resonate, adding to their imposing presence. Often standing 6 feet tall, presented a formidable appearance, with their bows matching their height. To the Europeans, they were an impressive sight, frequently described as giants. The Native Americans of the Gulf Coast, skilled in the use of bows and arrows, hunted a variety of four-legged animals for sustenance. Among their most prized game were the mighty buffalo whose herd once roamed the region. They also pursued the swift pronghorn antelope, the elusive white-tailed deer, and the sturdy mule deer. In addition to these larger animals, they relied on smaller game such as the swamp rabbit and the cottontail rabbit, each providing essential nourishment in pre-European times. The Karankawa also hunted a variety of birds for their meat, eggs, feathers, and bones. Species like the boat-tailed grackle, black-bellied whistling duck, red-head duck, wood duck, canvasback duck, blue-winged teal duck, northern pintail duck, mottled duck, American coots, and mallard duck provided not only sustenance but also materials for tools like whistles and other essential items. Turkey was another valuable catch, its feathers, bones, and meat all put to good use. Beyond hunting and fishing, the Karankawa were expert foragers, utilizing the land's natural bounty. Prickly pear cacti were a staple. Their pads and sweet fruit, known as tuna, were a reliable food source. To harvest the prickly pear, they burned off the glochids, making the fruit and pads safe to handle and eat. Honey mesquite was another gift from the land. Its flowers were brewed into teas, and its sweet beans were a versatile food source, offering sustenance and medicine alike. Pecans, acorns, and hickory nuts were gathered in abundance, their rich, oily flesh a valuable resource. The Karankawas knew every plant and tree in their environment, from the cattails whose roots were eaten to the yucca and chaparral berries and the wild fruits like the Chickasaw plum, Mustang grapes, and dewberries. Yaupon holly was another significant find, often used to make stimulating tea. And let us not forget the wonderful persimmon. If you are a Texan, you have probably come across the chili piquin, a cherished ingredient of indigenous cultures along the Gulf Coast of Texas. It is valued for its unique earthy flavor and intense heat, which the Karankawa preferred over salt. As noted by Miss Alice Oliver and other historical accounts, this chili has been a staple in traditional diets, cherished for its versatility and distinctive taste in everything from fruits and vegetables to meats. The Karankawa Indians lived in dwellings known as wickiups, which were dome-shaped structures crafted from wooden poles and covered with materials like grass, reeds, and animal hides. Although the term wigwam is often used to describe similar structures among other tribes, wickiups specifically refer to the traditional homes of the Karankawa. The Karankawa Indians utilized a diverse range of musical instruments crafted from natural materials to enrich their ceremonies and daily life. They made drums from wood and animal hides, flutes from wood, bone, or cane, and whistles from bone. Gourds and shakers filled with seeds or pebbles provided rhythmic accompaniment. These instruments played a vital role in their cultural expressions, ceremonies, and spiritual practices, reflecting their deep connection to music and their environment. It should also be noted that the Karankawa Indian used smoke signals as a crucial means of communication, a practice documented by early European explorers. For instance, the Spanish explorer Cabeza de Vaca observed that the Native American tribes, including the Karankawa, employed smoke signals to convey messages across distances. Similarly, the French explorer La Salle noted the use of smoke signals among the indigenous peoples along the Gulf Coast of Texas in his accounts. These signals served as a vital tool for sharing news and coordinating activities, much like a modern communication system, enabling them to stay informed and connected within their communities and beyond. The Karankawa people's use of body markings and colors was deeply sacred and symbolically rich. Medicine people applied red ochre extensively over a good part of their bodies for ceremonies, using it for protection against anything negative. Red ochre is believed to hold prayers the longest and offers the most protection, and was also used in burial practices to ensure the deceased's journey was secure. Blue representing the Creator, symbolizing their connection to the divine, while yellow and black were also significant, corresponding to the four sacred directions. The Karankawa also adorned their bodies with tattoos featuring various animals and symbols, each holding specific spiritual meanings. Some of these color practices and beliefs continue to be significant today, reflecting the Karankawa's enduring reverence for their spiritual traditions and the natural world. In their encounters with various Native American tribes along the Gulf Coast of Texas and surrounding areas, explorers like Cabeza de Vaca and La Salle documented the use of sign language as a vital means of communication across linguistic barriers. Cabeza de Vaca, in his account La Relación, observed that Native Americans utilized sign language to facilitate trade, negotiations, and general communication when they did not share a common spoken language. Similarly, La Salle noted that this universal form of sign language enabled tribes to interact effectively, conduct diplomacy, and build alliances despite their different languages. This practice was essential for maintaining peace relations and ensuring successful exchanges between diverse tribes. Initially, the Karankawa believed that the Europeans, like the other tribes they occasionally traded with, might be potential allies with whom they could coexist peacefully. They hoped these newcomers were simply there to trade or visit, as they had experienced with other tribes. However, they soon realized that the Europeans had different intentions. They weren't interested in peaceful exchanges or mutual respect. Instead, they came to take the land, the resources, and everything that defined the Karankawa's way of life. The Europeans, viewing themselves as superior, dismissed the Karankawa's culture and rights. And their writings, which falsely depicted the Karankawa as cannibals and savages, reflected the deep-seated prejudices that justified their actions. These derogatory portrayals were not a true representation of the Karankawa, but rather a means to rationalize their conquest and brutal extermination. Despite these historical misrepresentations, the Karankawa are not extinct, as their survival and resilience are a testament to the strength and endurance bestowed upon them by Creator. This has been a Blue Wolf production.